Schweidnitz, Silesia, Spring 1909. There are mornings when the mist rises over our fields like a curtain before a stage. I used to stand by the window of our family estate and imagine that behind that veil lay another world, a world of adventure, of courage, of flight. My name is Manfred von Richthofen, and I was born into the saddle, not the sky. My earliest memories are of horses and honor. My father, Major Albrecht, taught us that a man's worth was measured by his discipline and his word. He'd stand tall in his Prussian uniform, the medals on his chest glinting like captured sunlight, and tell us, "Remember, my son, courage is not the absence of fear, but the mastery of it." I didn't yet know how those words would follow me into the clouds. We were noble by name, yes, but far from idle aristocrats. I loved the hunt more than the ballroom. The rush of the wind against my face, the beat of the horse's heart beneath me, it was the closest thing to freedom I knew. I was skilled with the rifle, patient with the hawk, and when the prey fell, I felt that strange thrill of life and death, the dance that would define my existence. As boys, we played war. I was always the leader, not out of arrogance, but because I felt responsible. Even then, I wanted to command, to prove that I could guide others through danger. My brother Lothar, wilder than I, would laugh and say, "You take the glory. I'll take the risk." But in time I learned that war gives neither, only scars. When I turned 12, I was sent to the Royal Military Academy at Wallstadt, later to Lichterfeld. There, the sky was still a stranger to me. We studied tactics, discipline, and the art of obedience. I excelled at precision, at rules, but beneath the surface I longed for more than formations and parades. I longed for something that felt alive. I remember one evening walking across the parade grounds at sunset. The sky was bleeding red, a burning scar stretched over the horizon. I stopped and thought, that is the color of destiny. I didn't know then that one day I would paint my plane in that same hue and that the world would name me after it. When I graduated, I joined the Uhlans, the 1st Regiment of Cavalry. I was proud, a true Prussian rider. The horse beneath me was not just an animal, it was my comrade. The rhythm of hooves became my heartbeat. I believed that wars would always be fought as they had for centuries. Sabers, courage, honor. But the 20th century had other plans. Then came 1914. The drums of war thundered through Europe. I remember the first orders. Mobilization. I was 21. The old world, the one of family dinners, hunting lodges and quiet mornings, ended that day. The Empire called, and we answered. As we rode to the front, I felt alive in a way I never had. The roads were crowded with men and machines, faces shining with pride and fear. We believed the war would be short, glorious, over by Christmas. We sang songs of victory. None of us knew how wrong we were. At first I fought as a reconnaissance officer on horseback, galloping through mud and barbed wire, carrying messages under fire. But I soon realized something chilling. The age of the cavalry was dying. Machine guns shredded ranks that once charged with sabers raised high. The roar of engines drowned the thunder of hooves. I felt obsolete, a relic of another time. In my letters home I wrote to my mother, "I have seen the old ways vanish before my eyes. The sky now decides who lives and who dies." Then one afternoon I looked up. High above the trenches, two shapes danced, fragile, distant but deadly. One was French, the other German. They twisted and looped through the clouds, and for the first time in my life I saw flight as war. Not grounded in mud and blood, but free, silent, untouchable. That was the moment I knew. My destiny was no longer on the ground. I applied for transfer to the Imperial German Air Service, but they refused me at first. "You are cavalry," they said. "You have no training." So I persisted. I watched the aircraft land, spoke with the pilots, learned their machines. I volunteered to be an observer, just to get closer to the sky. Eventually they allowed it. The first time I took off, it felt like dying and being born at once. The earth fell away beneath me, the towns shrinking to toys, the trenches fading into scars. I remember gripping the edge of the fuselage and laughing. It wasn't arrogance, it was liberation. The war below looked almost peaceful from above, and that terrified me. As an observer, I watched the enemy, marked their positions, learned their tactics. But I wanted more. I wanted control. I wanted wings. I wanted to hunt. In those early months, I met Oswald Bohlke, Germany's first-grade ace, the man who would become my mentor. He was quiet, deliberate, a philosopher of the skies. He told me, "Manfred, up here, discipline is survival. You don't fight the man, you fight his machine, his mind, his mistake." I listened to every word. Bohlke believed in something radical, that the air war was not about chaos, but about order and honor. He wrote the Dicta Bohlke, a code of aerial combat that I would one day perfect. In it, I found not just tactics, but philosophy. Rule 1. Secure the advantage before attacking. Rule 2. Always carry through your attack. Rule 3. Never forget your line of retreat. These were not just rules. They were prayers to the gods of air and fate. That night, I wrote in my diary, "I have found my new horse. It has wings." By the end of 1915, I had completed training as a pilot. My first solo flight nearly ended in disaster. I misjudged the landing, crashed into a field, and laughed through the smoke. But when I climbed out, heart pounding, I knew I was home. The next morning, I looked at my aircraft, frail canvas and wood, yet capable of carrying my will into the heavens. I touched the fuselage as if it were alive. I whispered, "You and I will make history." And somewhere, above the gray sky of the Western Front, I could almost hear destiny whisper back. Then painted red, the engine trembles beneath me like a living creature straining at its leash. Every time I strap myself into the cockpit, I can feel its heartbeat answering mine. The morning air smells of oil and cold iron. The hangars sit behind me like dark sentinels, and ahead the sky is an empty battlefield waiting to be claimed. I used to believe courage was measured by how tightly one held the reins of a horse. Now I understand that courage lives in the brief moment before takeoff, when the ground begins to fall away and there is no path back. The mechanics shout, the propeller spins, and suddenly the field becomes a blur of green. I lift and the world tilts. Earth slides out from under me, replaced by clouds and wind. In these moments I forget that there is a war. For a few breaths I am only a man in flight, chasing sunlight. Our orders are simple. Patrol the front, protect reconnaissance planes, engage if necessary. But simplicity dies quickly in the air. The sky may look open, yet it hides invisible lines of death. We cross the trenches below, the scars of France stretching endlessly. Tiny bursts of light mark the artillery shells, and I wonder which of those sparks will erase the men I once rode beside. My instructor sits behind me in a two-seater Albatross. He points toward the horizon where two dots appear, growing fast. They are enemy aircraft, their wings catching the light like blades. I feel the pulse in my throat quicken. He signals for a climb. The engine howls. The dots become forms, then faces. The first real battle begins. The air thickens with motion. I pull the stick, and the machine rises like a hawk. My stomach drops, the wind tears at my scarf, and I can taste the metallic edge of fear. One of the French planes dives toward us, its machine gun stuttering. Tracers streak past. The sound is not thunder, but tearing silk. My instructor fires a short burst. The enemy veers away. I watch it fall, smoke trailing until it disappears behind a cloud. That night, I cannot sleep. I write in my notebook by candlelight. Today I saw the first man die by my hand, though I did not pull the trigger. The sky is beautiful, but it kills without hesitation. Days blur into weeks. I train, I fly, I study Bohlke's rules. He speaks softly, as if explaining a religion. Patience, he says. A pilot must think faster than fear. I practice his maneuvers until they become instinct. Approach from the sun, dive, fire, climb. Each rule feels like a line of scripture. By August, Bohlke invites me to join his new squadron. Jasta 2. It feels like being chosen for something greater than myself. The men call him the father of air fighting, and to fly under his command is to stand in the shadow of a legend. Our planes are primitive creatures, fabric stretched over wood, wires humming like strings of a violin, yet to me, they are alive. I learn every sound they make, every vibration that signals danger. I speak to them before each flight, quietly as I once spoke to my horses. The first time I am ordered to attack alone, dawn is just breaking. The fog is low, the sun red. I spot a British reconnaissance plane below me. I remember Bolk's first rule: secure the advantage. I dive, the wind screams. My hands are steady, though my heart is not. I squeeze the trigger, short, controlled bursts. The enemy swerves, then dips. A thin trail of smoke unwinds behind it. When it hits the ground, I feel no triumph, only a hollow ringing in my ears. I circle once, watching the wreckage burn. There is a strange peace in the stillness that follows destruction. I land and the men cheer, calling me ace, though I have only begun. I smile for them, but inside I write, I did not kill a man today. I killed a dream that once lifted both of us into the same sky. With each mission, something inside me changes. The hesitation fades. I begin to sense the rhythm of the air, to anticipate movements before they happen. It is like hearing music only I can hear. Soon I am credited with several victories. The commanders take notice. Boki speaks to me privately one evening. Manfred, he says, you must find a symbol. The enemy should know who they face. He means it as advice, but it plants a seed that grows quickly. A week later, I take a brush and a can of paint and coat the fuselage of my Albatross in red, the deep color of sunset, of courage, of danger. The mechanics laugh, but I continue until the entire machine glows crimson. When I roll it out onto the field, the others stare. Someone mutters, Richthofen has gone mad. Yet when I rise into the sky, the red wings blaze against the clouds like a wound. Below, the soldiers look up and point. From that day, I am no longer simply Manfred. I am the Red Baron, though the title has not yet reached the newspapers. My first confirmed solo victory as a pilot comes in September 1916. The engagement lasts less than a minute but feels endless. I spot the British FE-2 biplane, dive from above, and fire until its propeller stops. The machine glides down like a wounded bird. I land near the wreckage and see the pilot slumped in his seat, eyes closed as if asleep. I remove a small silver cup from my bag, a tradition I have begun, and engrave the date upon it. 1 cup for each victory. At the end of the war, I imagine a shelf lined with them, each a silent confession. Boki dies not long after in a mid-air collision. The news reaches us by telegram. I sit alone for a long time, staring at the red paint on my hands, wondering if leadership is a curse disguised as glory. I decide then that I will build a unit of my own, one that fights with precision and honor as he taught. Winter settles over the front. The sky grows heavier, the light shorter. Every mission feels colder. The engines freeze, the wind cuts through our uniforms, yet I feel more alive than ever. Each sortie begins with the same ritual. Touch the plane, breathe once, remember Bolk's voice, then climb. The more I fly, the more I understand that the sky is not vast, it is intimate. You come to know your enemies by the way they turn, the way they hesitate. I have fought the same British pilot 3 times now. I recognize his patterns like handwriting. We are strangers and rivals, yet somehow connected. At night, I still write. The diary has become my only listener. December 1916. The men speak of heroes. They do not know that every hero is a man who has run out of choices. By early 1917, my count rises quickly. The newspapers print my name. Children in Berlin write letters addressed to the Red Baron. I answer none of them. Wien feels like fog, thick, beautiful, and impossible to breathe. When I close my eyes, I no longer see faces, only shapes falling through clouds. But I tell myself it is necessary. Someone must master the air or the war will never end. Still, some nights I dream of the first time I flew, the silence before the gunfire, the clean wind on my face. I wonder if that boy from Silesia, the one who loved horses and sunrise, would recognize the man I have become. Tomorrow we fly again, another patrol, another chance to rise and fall. The mechanics will check the engine, the officers will brief us, the sky will wait. I dip my pen in ink and write the final line of the day. The call of war is louder than conscience, and yet it is the same wind that carries both. The engine trembles beneath me like a living creature straining at its leash. Every time I strap myself into the cockpit, I can feel its heartbeat answering mine. The morning air smells of oil and cold iron. The hangars sit behind me like dark sentinels, and ahead the sky is an empty battlefield waiting to be claimed. I used to believe courage was measured by how tightly one held the reins of a horse. Now I understand that courage lives in the brief moment before takeoff, when the ground begins to fall away and there is no path back. The mechanics shout, the propeller spins, and suddenly the field becomes a blur of green. I lift and the world tilts. Earth slides out from under me, replaced by clouds and wind. In these moments I forget that there is a war. For a few breaths I am only a man in flight, chasing sunlight. Our orders are simple. Patrol the front, protect reconnaissance planes, engage if necessary. But simplicity dies quickly in the air. The sky may look open, yet it hides invisible lines of death. We cross the trenches below, the scars of France stretching endlessly. Tiny bursts of light mark the artillery shells, and I wonder which of those sparks will erase the men I once rode beside. My instructor sits behind me in a two-seater albatross. He points toward the horizon where two dots appear, growing fast. They are enemy aircraft, their wings catching the light like blades. I feel the pulse in my throat quicken. He signals for a climb. The engine howls. The dots become forms, then faces. The first real battle begins. The air thickens with motion. I pull the stick, and the machine rises like a hawk. My stomach drops, the wind tears at my scarf, and I can taste the metallic edge of fear. One of the French planes dives toward us, its machine gun stuttering, tracers streak past. The sound is not thunder, but tearing silk. My instructor fires a short burst. The enemy veers away. I watch it fall, smoke trailing, until it disappears behind a cloud. That night, I cannot sleep. I write in my notebook by candlelight. Today I saw the first man die by my hand, though I did not pull the trigger. The sky is beautiful, but it kills without hesitation. Days blur into weeks. I train, I fly, I study Bolk's rules. He speaks softly, as if explaining a religion. Patience, he says. A pilot must think faster than fear. I practice his maneuvers until they become instinct. Approach from the sun. Dive, fire, climb. Each rule feels like a line of scripture. By August, Bolke invites me to join his new squadron, Jasta 2. It feels like being chosen for something greater than myself. The men call him the father of air fighting, and to fly under his command is to stand in the shadow of a legend. Our planes are primitive creatures, fabrics stretched over wood, wires humming like strings of a violin, yet to me they are alive. I learn every sound they make, every vibration that signals danger. I speak to them before each flight, quietly, as I once spoke to my horses. The first time I am ordered to attack alone, dawn is just breaking. The fog is low, the sun red. I spot a British reconnaissance plane below me. I remember Bolk's first rule: secure the advantage. I dive. The wind screams. My hands are steady, though my heart is not. I squeeze the trigger. Short, controlled bursts. The enemy swerves, then dips. A thin trail of smoke unwinds behind it. When it hits the ground, I feel no triumph. Only a hollow ringing in my ears. I circle once, watching the wreckage burn. There's a strange peace in the stillness that follows destruction. I land, and the men cheer, calling me ace, though I have only begun. I smile for them, but inside I write, I did not kill a man today. I killed a dream that once lifted both of us into the same sky. With each mission, something inside me changes. The hesitation fades. I begin to sense the rhythm of the air, to anticipate movements before they happen. It is like hearing music only I can hear. Soon I am credited with several victories. The commanders take notice. Bolke speaks to me privately one evening. Manfred, he says, you must find a symbol. The enemy should know who they face. He means it as advice, but it plants a seed that grows quickly. A week later, I take a brush and a can of paint and coat the fuselage of my albatross in red, the deep color of sunset, of courage, of danger. The mechanics laugh, but I continue until the entire machine glows crimson. When I roll it out onto the field, the others stare. Someone mutters, Richthofen has gone mad. Yet when I rise into the sky, The red wings blaze against the clouds like a wound. Below, the soldiers look up and point. From that day, I am no longer simply Manfred. I am the Red Baron, though the title has not yet reached the newspapers. My first confirmed solo victory as a pilot comes in September 1916. The engagement lasts less than a minute but feels endless. I spot a British Fe-2 biplane dive from above and fire until its propeller stops. The machine glides down like a wounded bird. I land near the wreckage and see the pilot slumped in his seat, eyes closed as if asleep. I remove a small silver cup from my bag, a tradition I have begun, and engrave the date upon it. 1 cup for each victory. At the end of the war, I imagine a shelf lined with them, each a silent confession. Boki dies not long after, in a mid-air collision. The news reaches us by telegram. I sit alone for a long time, staring at the red paint on my hands, wondering if leadership is a curse disguised as glory. I decide then that I will build a unit of my own, one that fights with precision and honor, as he taught. Winter settles over the front. The sky grows heavier, the light shorter. Every mission feels colder. The engines freeze, the wind cuts through our uniforms. Yet I feel more alive than ever. Each sortie begins with the same ritual. Touch the plane, breathe once. Remember Bulk's voice. Then climb. The more I fly, the more I understand that the sky is not vast, it is intimate. You come to know your enemies by the way they turn, the way they hesitate. I have fought the same British pilot 3 times now. I recognize his patterns like handwriting. We are strangers and rivals, yet somehow connected. At night, I still write. The diary has become my only listener. December 1916, the men speak of heroes. They do not know that every hero is a man who has run out of choices. By early 1917, my count rises quickly. The newspapers print my name. Children in Berlin write letters addressed to the Red Baron. I answer none of them. Fame feels like fog, thick, beautiful, and impossible to breathe. When I close my eyes, I no longer see faces, only shapes falling through clouds. But I tell myself it is necessary. Someone must master the air or the war will never end. Still, some nights I dream of the first time I flew, the silence before the gunfire, the clean wind on my face. I wonder if that boy from Silesia, the one who loved horses and sunrise, would recognize the man I have become. Tomorrow we fly again. Another patrol, another chance to rise and fall. The mechanics will check the engine, the officers will brief us, the sky will wait. I dip my pen in ink and write the final line of the day. The call of war is louder than conscience, and yet it is the same wind that carries both. Dawn breaks with a thin ribbon of light over the Argonne front. Frost clings to the edges of my cockpit, and I can feel the chill seeping into my bones even through layers of wool and leather. I tighten the straps across my chest and check the engine one last time. Every lever, every gauge must be precise. A mistake here is a mistake of death. Today is not my first flight. It is, however, my first mission as more than a solitary hunter. I lead 3 others in my squadron, inexperienced men with eyes wide like children but hearts full of courage. They look to me not just for orders, but for the proof that the Red Baron is more than a name painted on the side of a plane. I feel the weight of that expectation pressing against my shoulders like the harness itself. We take off in silence. The world below is muted, the trenches long scars in the earth. Smoke rises from artillery, curling like ghosts over the pockmarked landscape. I glance at the men in formation behind me. Each of them is thinking what I am thinking. The sky is our battlefield, but it is also a cage. One wrong maneuver and there is no mercy. My thoughts drift for a fraction of a second, to my childhood in Silesia, to the fields where I learned the rhythm of horses and the language of wind. Those memories are balm, but also a torment. The innocence of past days feels impossible to reconcile with the violence that now surrounds me. Ahead, a squadron of British scouts moves through the mist. The enemy is unaware of our presence. I signal with a brief flick of my aileron, and my men respond, diving in formation. We are predators, silent yet lethal, each plane a shadow that seeks to dominate the light. The first exchange is chaotic. The roar of engines fills my head, drowning everything else. Tracers streak past, slicing through the morning air. One of my men falters, a British plane coming up from below, its guns rattling. I roll hard, climb rapidly, and intercept. The moment stretches endlessly, time dilates. I am no longer just Manfred von Richthofen. I am the machine, the sky, the hunter, and the hunted at once. I fire. The enemy jerks, smoke trailing from his engine. He dives and disappears into the clouds. A victory, yes, but hollow. I circle, counting each of my men, scanning for threats, ensuring we all survive this baptism. The thrill of the kill is immediate, but the weight of responsibility follows instantly behind it. After the engagement, we regroup above the front lines. The men breathe hard, faces flushed, eyes bright. They laugh nervously, but I know that each is carrying a private terror they cannot speak. I write in my notebook as we glide over the landscape. Courage is a fleeting visitor. Fear waits at every turn. The days that follow are relentless. Sorties come in waves, reconnaissance, dogfights, interceptions. I begin to recognize the patterns of enemy pilots, the rhythm of their maneuvers. Each success brings me a mixture of pride and unease. I have become efficient, precise, deadly. Yet I feel the isolation that such mastery brings. The sky does not welcome companionship. It rewards focus, cunning, and detachment. My squadron begins to call me Red Baron, not just for the paint on my plane, but for the reputation I am building in the clouds. The men follow my lead, trusting my judgment implicitly. I feel a strange duality, pride in our coordination, terror at the realization that every man's life rests partially in my hands. I must be perfect or imperfection will carve a hole in the sky. One morning, a scout from headquarters arrives mid-sortie. Orders are written in crisp clinical language. Intercept a formation of bombers heading toward German positions. There is no discussion of strategy or morality. Only action. I brief my men quickly, voice low but firm, then climb toward the rising sun. The sky ahead is cold and sharp, a knife edge between duty and destruction. The dogfight is unlike any I have faced before. Enemy machines twist and dive with deadly intent. One bomber splits from the formation, seemingly isolated. My instincts scream advantage. I dive. The wind screams past my ears. The bomber returns fire, traces striking near my fuselage, vibrating through the frame. I adjust, line up the sights, and squeeze the trigger. It is over in moments, but the seconds feel like eternity. Below me, the earth stretches endlessly. I see rivers like dark veins, villages shrinking to toy size, and soldiers who cannot imagine the danger that hangs above them like a silent storm. I feel small yet immense, the paradox of the air. I am a god of this domain and yet utterly human, fragile, and mortal. We land after hours of relentless sorties. The men are exhausted, but their faces shine with the glow of survival and minor triumphs. We speak little. Words are insufficient. We understand each other through gestures, through the shared memory of the sky as chaos and the unspoken knowledge that today we lived when others did not. At night in the cold quiet of the barracks, I write again in my diary, "The sky is my confessor." I whisper to it, I ask it questions, I beg it to spare us. And yet I know the answers are not kind. I pause, staring at the ceiling. Each mission teaches me more than any textbook could. Patience, calculation, empathy, and the terrifying clarity that only comes from observing death as a matter of inches and seconds. The Red Baron is no longer a symbol painted on a plane. He is a concept, an identity forged in the crucible of air. I wear it reluctantly as both armor and weight. My men look to me for guidance, the enemy fears the name, and I myself wrestle with the man I am becoming. Every flight is a test, every maneuver a moral calculation. I am learning that heroism is not the absence of fear, it is the mastery of it under impossible circumstances. I look out the window at the moon rising over the frost-covered fields. I feel the tug of home, of childhood mornings in Silesia, of the fields where I first learned the language of wind and movement. And yet, I know that the war has claimed me as surely as any bullet could. The Red Baron flies now, and Manfred von Richthofen is becoming legend whether he wishes it or not. Tomorrow we fly again. The enemy waits. The sky is endless, and I am bound to it. Every sortie is baptism, every encounter with the enemy a confirmation that I have entered a new world, a world where the air itself determines fate, where honor and terror share the same clouds, and where a young man from Silesia begins to understand the full cost of being called a hero. The sky is quiet this morning, but I know it is only a pause before chaos. Frost coats the wings of my albatross, and the sun glints off the red paint I have applied like a warning. I feel its presence as I climb in, a symbol and a talisman. Today, I lead 6 men, young pilots whose eyes are wide with the same mix of fear and exhilaration that once defined me. The front lines stretch endlessly beneath us. Trenches snake through fields, and smoke rises like ancient spirits claiming the land. I feel the weight of the air pressing against me, dense and alive. Every sortie is a duel, a test of skill, a negotiation with death itself. And yet I have begun to see the rhythm, to understand the flow of wind, the hesitation of enemy pilots, the patterns that repeat across the battlefield. A formation of British scouts emerges over the horizon. They are disciplined, moving in perfect lines, but they have not yet seen us. I signal a climb. My men respond instantly, engines roaring, wings slicing through the cold air. The dance begins. I attack first, diving with precision. The tracers streak past, slicing through space. I see one plane falter, its wings jerking under the stress of combat. My first man in formation follows, and together we press the advantage. Another plane peels away. The sky becomes a chessboard, each maneuver deliberate, calculated, a test of instinct and intelligence. My reputation has grown. Soldiers in the trenches below whisper my name. Some fear me, others admire. I have begun to see letters from Berlin, from children, from officers praising the Red Baron. Fame feels strange, almost unreal. I am not yet comfortable with it, nor do I seek it, but the name carries weight. It is both a shield and a target. By mid-morning, the engagement ends. I circle above the battlefield, counting the men in my squadron. Each survived. Each flew with courage. I feel pride, yes, but also an unshakable awareness. Every life depends on every choice I make. Leadership is no longer a duty. It is an existential force that presses on me, relentless and unforgiving. The days pass in relentless sorties. I encounter rival aces in the air, men who match my skill, my anticipation, my daring. Each duel tests me further, stretching my limits of patience and courage. Yet each victory, each engagement, builds something beyond skill, a legend. I am learning that legend is not born from the number of kills alone, but from the way one moves, thinks, and survives in the eyes of all who watch. I begin refining my tactics, combining Boke's principles with my own understanding. I dive from the sun, circle from above, strike with precision. I notice the hesitation in enemy pilots, exploit it, and withdraw with controlled mastery. The sky becomes a theater where I dictate the tempo, where anticipation is as lethal as a gun. Back at the airfield, my men gather around the red albatross. They respect it, fear it, and trust in it. They begin to see me not just as a leader, but as an extension of the machine itself. I write in my diary, a legend is not built by glory alone. It is carved by discipline, patience, and the courage to face the inevitable over and over again. The Red Baron is becoming more than a symbol. I feel its weight settle into my bones, a mantle that cannot be shrugged off. Each letter I write home now carries a different tone, measured, calm, yet carrying the undercurrent of a man who has seen the sky's dominion firsthand. My mother writes asking if I am well, if I am safe. I cannot tell her everything. How could I? How could words capture the intimacy of altitude, the tension of a maneuver, the whispered prayers between the wind and my heart? One evening, I climb alone, circling above the trenches as the sun sets. Smoke curls in thin spirals from the battlefield below. I see soldiers, ants in their uniforms, moving through a landscape scarred by humanity's folly. The wind cuts past my face. In the silence, I feel the birth of something unstoppable, not just a reputation, but a force, a presence that will haunt the clouds and the men who traverse them. I write, The Red Baron is no longer simply Manfred von Richthofen. He is the name whispered in the clouds, the shadow above, the inevitability that waits with patient wings. Yet beneath it all, I am still a boy from Silesia, learning the cost of legend and tasting the bitter sweetness of survival. Fame grows, but so does expectation. Reports arrive daily of my feats, of my precision, of my uncanny skill. I am careful not to let it cloud my judgment. In the sky, there is no room for ego, only survival, only control, only the relentless flow of air and wind that decides life and death in the blink of an eye. As night falls, I write one final note before sleep. I am becoming the Red Baron, and the world will remember the sound of my wings. Yet every flight reminds me, mastery has a price and the sky always collects its due. Tomorrow, we fly again. The sun will rise. The air will await us. And I, Manfred von Richthofen, will rise with it, chasing the horizon, crafting the legend that will follow me to eternity. The sky is a pale sheet of steel this morning, clouds like shattered glass stretched across the horizon. I feel the chill in my bones as I strap myself into the cockpit. The albatross shivers beneath me, eager, alive, a weapon and a companion. Today, I lead 4 men on a patrol over enemy territory, but I sense we are not alone. There is a tension in the air, like the first note of a storm waiting to descend. Above the trenches, I see them, silhouettes against the sun, enemy aces gliding with practiced ease. I know their names, their habits, the patterns of their maneuvers. Each is a mirror of what I have become, yet stranger, a threat that could shatter everything I have built. The hunt begins before we even meet. I signal my men. They respond, engines growling, wings slicing through the thin air. I dive, then roll into formation, feeling the wind tug at every limb. Anticipation curls in my chest. This is no ordinary engagement. This is the meeting of forces honed by fire, precision, and relentless instinct. The first attack comes from above. I twist the stick, roll hard, and fire. Tracers streak past, and one enemy plane veers violently. I follow, closing the gap, yet always calculating. One misstep, one misjudged turn, and the sky itself could claim me. Hours stretch in this violent ballet. Each maneuver is a conversation of speed, altitude, and instinct. I sense hesitation, exploit it, withdraw, strike again. The enemy pilots are skilled, faster than most, yet I have learned to read them, to anticipate the subtle shifts in their flight. Each duel is both a test and a revelation. I see in their eyes the same fear and exhilaration that has become my constant companions. Below, the battlefield is silent compared to the chaos above. Trenches, villages, rivers, they shrink to insignificance. Up here, life and death exist in microseconds, decisions made before thought can intervene. I am alive in every nerve, every sense heightened, acutely aware that the men following me trust my judgment with their lives. By mid-morning, 2 of my men are forced back by damage. I guide the remaining pilots, covering their retreat while keeping the pressure on the enemy. The sky is vast, yet it feels narrow, intimate, a crucible where skill is absolute. I fire, evade, climb, and dive. Time dilates and contracts. Minutes feel like seconds, seconds like eternity. I spot a particularly skilled ace, his maneuvers familiar, almost personal. We circle each other like predators, each waiting for the other to falter. I study him, noting every twitch of the wings, the angle of the sun, the pressure of the wind on my face. Then in a burst of instinct, I dive, align the sights and fire. He twists violently, trailing smoke. The satisfaction is muted. Survival is the only reward, recognition comes later. Hours pass in relentless pursuit. By the time we land, our planes bear the marks of the duel, scratches, dents, and the faint scars of near misses. My men are quiet, exhausted, yet their faces shine with the knowledge that we survived against skill equal to our own. I write in my diary, enemies in the clouds are mirrors of ourselves. In facing them, we see the cost and the necessity of mastery. The Red Baron legend grows. The enemy whispers my name, soldiers below tremble at the sight of red wings in the sky, and yet the weight of this reputation presses heavily on me. Leadership is no longer a matter of guiding others. It is an unspoken contract with every man who flies beneath me, with every enemy who meets me in the air, with the very sky that claims us all. Night falls. I write by candlelight, reflecting on the day's engagements. The thrill of victory is tempered by awareness. Skill brings survival, yes, but also isolation. The sky is a lonely realm, a dominion that rewards precision and punishes hesitation. I am the Red Baron, yet I remain mortal, tethered by instinct and the constant specter of fate. I close my notebook, eyes on the moonlit horizon. Tomorrow we fly again. The clouds will shift, the enemy will wait, and I will rise once more, chasing mastery, facing foes, and living the paradox of power in the sky, unstoppable yet ever vulnerable, legendary yet human. The morning fog clings to the airfield like a shroud. Frost glints on the wings of my albatross, and the engine trembles beneath me, alive and restless. Today I climb alone before the squadron takes off. I need the quiet, the solitude to center myself, to feel the rhythm of the sky without the eyes of men watching me. Victory comes in many forms. For some, it is applause, medals, or recognition. For me, it is the whisper of wind over wings, the precise control of a dive, the sense of survival against impossible odds. Yet with every triumph, I feel its weight settling into my chest. Each plane I downed, each maneuver that left another pilot vulnerable. It is not glory, I feel, but responsibility. The reports arrive constantly. My name spreads across the trenches, the newspapers, even to the distant cities of Berlin. Children write letters addressed to the Red Baron, their faith and imagination carrying my legend farther than any sortie. I read them, but I do not respond. Fame is not a gift. It is a shadow that stretches longer than any man can follow. I climb into the sky and feel the familiar rush, the familiar fear, the familiar clarity. Today we patrol near the Somme, the ground frozen, scarred, unrecognizable from above. Each sortie becomes a meditation on the fragility of life, the relentless passage of time, and the thin line between skill and fate. Enemy aircraft appear, a formation of scouts moving in disciplined arcs. I signal my men and we rise, engines roaring. The battle is precise, calculated. I dive, fire, evade, and climb. Every decision is a measure of life and death. One error, one hesitation, and the sky claims us all. I feel the tension coiling in my chest, tight as a drum. I notice the face of one young enemy pilot, his concentration absolute, his fear barely concealed. There is something human in his resolve, and I sense the fleeting nature of our rivalry. He twists and dips, escaping my immediate aim, yet our paths will cross again. I feel a pang, a reminder that each victory carries consequences beyond the air, beyond the moment of engagement. By mid-afternoon, the sky's clear. My squadron lands, men exhausted but alive. We are celebrated, lauded, counted for. Yet the weight of each sortie remains. I write in my diary, victory is not a crown, it is a ledger. Every success writes itself upon the lives of others, a reminder of the cost we cannot undo. I think of my men, of the boys from Silesia and beyond, following my lead without hesitation. Their trust is absolute, yet fragile. I feel the mantle of leadership pressing heavier each day, a burden I cannot discard. I have become a symbol, but symbols do not understand fear, hope, or sorrow. They exist only to inspire, to intimidate, to endure. The evening comes and I climb once more alone, letting the plane glide silently above the front lines. The battlefield stretches beneath me, muted by distance and shadow. I see the trenches, the soldiers moving like tiny ants, the smoke curling upward from distant fires. Every life beneath me is fragile. Every choice I make carries weight. I have tasted victory, but I have also tasted the responsibility that follows. I write, each victory brings a shadow. I fly above men, above danger, yet I am tethered to both. The Red Baron is feared, yes, but I am still a boy from Silesia, learning the true cost of mastery in the sky. Night settles, and the stars emerge like distant fires. I trace constellations with my eyes, imagining the paths of all who have flown before me, and those who will follow. Tomorrow we fly again. Enemy planes will rise, wind will slice through the clouds, and I will climb into the sky to meet both skill and fate once more. The weight of victory is heavy, but it is mine to bear. Each flight teaches me more about control, courage, and the responsibility that comes with power. I am the Red Baron, yes, but beneath the legend, I remain human, tethered to every decision, every movement, every breath I take above the world below. The sky is gray, heavy with clouds that threaten rain and ice. I strap myself into the cockpit of my albatross, leather tight against my chest, gloves stiff from cold. Every muscle aches from days of relentless sorties. Yet I climb because there is no choice. The war continues, the enemy waits, and the Red Baron must rise again. Today, the air feels different, heavier, almost suffocating. My body is tired, my mind sharp but strained. I notice the tremor in my hands as I adjust the controls, a subtle reminder that mastery exacts a cost. I shake it off. Focus on the horizon. The sky waits. Enemy scouts appear over the fields, moving with precision. My squadron responds, engines roaring, wings slicing through the cold morning air. I dive, roll, and engage. The first clash is immediate. Tracers streak past, cutting bright lines through the gray clouds. I fire and the enemy jerks, smoke trailing. The thrill of success is tempered by exhaustion, the realization that each engagement pushes me closer to the limits of endurance. Hours pass in relentless pursuit. I circle, climb, and dive again, tracking enemy planes, anticipating their moves. Each maneuver requires perfect calculation. One misstep and it is over. I feel the strain in my chest, the fatigue in my limbs, but I push onward. The sky will not forgive hesitation, and legend is built in moments like this. After the engagement, we return to the airfield. My men are quiet, exhausted, their faces pale from the stress of combat. I can see it in their eyes, the same shadow of realization that I feel. Glory is not without cost. Every kill, every maneuver, every victory carries a weight that lingers long after the engines stop. I sit in the dim light of the barracks, writing in my diary. Glory is measured not in medals, nor in reports, nor in fame. It is measured in the hours when the sky weighs heavy on your chest, when fear whispers that you may not survive, and when every decision carries consequences beyond your control. I think of the enemy pilots I have faced, of their faces etched into memory, young men, skilled, fearful, alive one moment and gone the next. I feel their presence still, a shadow that follows me even on nights when sleep is mercifully absent. Victory has a taste of ash in my mouth. I am feared, yes, but every fear I inspire is mirrored by the fear I carry within. The Red Baron legend grows. Soldiers whisper my name in the trenches below. Newspapers report my exploits. Children write letters to a man they have never met. Yet, I know that legend is a double-edged sword. It demands perfection, sacrifices humanity, and isolates the one who bears it. I am becoming more than a pilot. I am a symbol, and symbols are eternal. But they are also lonely. Night falls cold and silent. I climb once more, alone, letting the albatross glide above the trenches, over the rivers and fields scarred by war. I watch the world below, tiny and fragile, and feel the full weight of my actions. The lives I touch, the fear I inspire, the deaths I have caused, they are mine to bear. The sky is vast, yet it narrows with responsibility. I write, the price of glory is not counted in medals or victories. It is counted in quiet hours when the world sleeps and the mind cannot. It is counted in the weight pressing upon the chest, in the knowledge that every action reverberates beyond the sky, into the lives of men who do not fly. Tomorrow we rise again. Enemy planes will wait. The wind will cut through clouds. The Red Baron will climb, precise and lethal. And I, beneath the legend, will feel every beat of my heart, every tremor of my hands, every echo of responsibility. Glory is not free. It demands all, and leaves only the sky as witness. The sky is sharp, a frozen sheet of pale steel stretching as far as I can see. Frost coats the wings of my albatross, biting through leather and wool. I strap myself in, fingers stiff, heart pounding. The airfield is quiet, but I feel the tension in every gust of wind, every ripple of cloud. Today, I do not climb just to fight. Today, I climb knowing the enemy is waiting for me. Reports have reached me. Enemy aces have studied my moves, analyzed my patterns. The Red Baron is no longer just a shadow over the trenches. He is a target, hunted as relentlessly as he hunts. I tighten my grip on the control stick. The thrill of the hunt has changed. Now, I am both predator and prey. We rise as a squadron, 4 planes cutting through the morning haze. I scan the horizon, searching for movement, for the first hint of ambush. Then I see them, 3 British aces, disciplined and dangerous, each one a mirror of skill and intent. They know my tactics. They anticipate my dives, my climbs, my turns. The game has changed. The first attack is sudden, violent. Tracers streak past my cockpit. 1 plane dives from above, aiming for my wing. I roar hard, the wind screaming past my face in fire. The enemy jerks violently, but he recovers. I feel the tension coil in my chest like a live wire. This is no ordinary duel. This is a dance with death, and the steps are learned, rehearsed, and precise. I weave through clouds, seeking the advantage. Each maneuver requires total focus. My mind is alive with calculations: speed, angle, altitude, wind, enemy position. 1 misstep, 1 hesitation, and the sky will claim me. I feel the predator's thrill, but it is tempered with the acute awareness that I am being hunted as surely as I hunt. Hours pass in this relentless ballet. 1 enemy plane locks onto my tail. I twist, climb, and dive in rapid succession. The tracer rounds buzz past my fuselage, scraping the paint, shaking the frame. The sky becomes a cathedral of tension, each maneuver a sermon on survival and instinct. I fire, pull away, regroup. Every second is life and death compressed into motion. Below, the world is muted. Trenches, rivers, villages, they shrink beneath the clouds. Life and death play out invisibly to those on the ground. Up here, there is only the hunt, the counterattack, the unspoken rules of air combat. I sense my men behind me, following my lead, trusting me to navigate this deadly theater. Their survival rests in my choices. By late afternoon, we disengage. My squadron lands, engines smoking, men exhausted but alive. I check the damage to my albatross, scratches, dents, marks from near misses. Each imperfection is a reminder of the day's peril. I write in my diary, the hunter becomes the hunted. Every ascent brings both glory and danger. Every maneuver is a test of skill and nerve. I am learning that survival is as much about anticipation as it is about firepower. The legend of the Red Baron grows, but so does the risk. Enemy pilots speak my name with respect and fear, but they also learn, adapt, and wait. Each flight becomes a negotiation with fate. Every sortie a reminder that immortality is an illusion in the clouds. Night falls, cold and silent. I climb alone, letting the albatross glide over the battlefield. Smoke curls from trenches, soldiers move like tiny figures across scarred earth, oblivious to the deadly ballet above. I feel the weight of my own legend, the awareness that I am watched, studied, targeted. The hunter is always a prey in someone else's eyes. I write, the sky is no longer mine alone. Every engagement carries the echo of the enemy's strategy. Every maneuver is mirrored, every mistake magnified. I am the Red Baron, yes, but I am mortal, hunted, and aware that every flight could be my last. I watch the stars emerge, distant and cold. Tomorrow we fly again. The enemy will rise, and I will meet them in the clouds, both hunter and hunted, legend and mortal, master and prey. The game continues, relentless and unforgiving, and I, Manfred von Richthofen, must survive it all, shaping the myth while feeling every heartbeat beneath it. The morning sky is a fiery gray, heavy with clouds thick as smoke. Frost glints on the wings of my albatross, and I tighten the leather straps over my chest. My hands are raw from the cold, my fingers stiff, but I feel the familiar rush of adrenaline, the surge that makes the sky both home and battlefield. Today there is no hesitation, only the relentless pull of duty. We rise as a squadron, 6 planes cutting across the horizon, engines screaming, wind biting. The front lines are a scar on the earth, trenches and ruined villages stretched in endless lines. I can hear nothing but the roar of the engines, the slap of the wind against my helmet, the pulse of life and death coursing through every nerve. Enemy aircraft appear, a formation larger than I have faced before. British aces, disciplined and lethal, are waiting. Their eyes are trained to follow me, to anticipate the trap. I signal my men. Today, the hunter and the hunted meet, and the sky becomes a crucible of steel, fire, and instinct. The first engagement is sudden, violent. Tracer rounds streak past, scraping my fuselage. I dive, roll, and fire, the albatross trembling beneath me. One enemy plane spirals, smoke trailing like black ribbons across the clouds. Another dives at my tail. I twist and climb, heart pounding, lungs burning, instincts sharp as a blade. Each maneuver is life or death compressed into seconds, each decision a testament to skill honed over countless sorties. Hours pass like minutes. The sky is a theater of chaos. I weave through clouds, strike, evade, climb, and strike again. Enemy pilots push me to the limits, exploiting every weakness, anticipating every turn. My squadron fights alongside me, but the cost is visible. Damage to planes, exhaustion in faces, tremors in hands. The price of survival is never clearer than in these moments. Below, the battlefield is a muted hell. Trenches filled with soldiers moving like shadows. Fires burn, smoke rises, and the earth is torn asunder. Up here, the world narrows to a single focus. Fly, fight, survive. The Red Baron must rise above it all, both legend and man, mortal and myth entwined. By afternoon, several of my men are forced down by damage, injuries, or exhaustion. I guide those who remain, covering retreat while pressing the attack. One enemy ace, cunning and relentless, engages me directly. We circle, climb, dive, the world shrinking to the metal frame of our planes, to the roar of engines, to the thin thread of survival. I fire, he evades, we dance in deadly harmony. I feel the weight of every life around me, every choice pressing down like lead. The battle ends at sunset. My albatross is scarred, my body raw with fatigue, my mind racing. Letters from home are waiting, letters of praise, worry, and admiration. I do not read them yet. There is no rest in victory, only the unshakable sense of what has been lost and what must still be endured. I write in my diary, the sky is an inferno, and we navigate it with fire in our veins and ice in our hearts. Every victory, every maneuver, every kill carries a cost. The Red Baron is feared, yes, but the weight of legend is heavier than any enemy bullet. Night falls. I climb one last time alone. The air is cold, still and vast. I glide above the trenches, watching the world in shadow, feeling the silence between sorties, the quiet between heartbeats. I see the lives affected, the fear inspired, the destruction wrought. I am legend, yet I am mortal. I am Red Baron, yet I am still Manfred von Richthofen, learning the full cost of mastery and myth in the skies above a world at war. Tomorrow, we rise again. The enemy waits, the wind cuts sharper, the sky is both sanctuary and arena. And I, the Red Baron, will climb into the Inferno once more, chasing survival, crafting legend, and feeling every heartbeat beneath the weight of glory. The dawn is brittle, a thin sliver of light breaking over the horizon. Frost glints on the wings of my albatross, each rivet shining like a small, cold star. I strap myself in and feel the familiar vibration of the engine beneath me. It is a friend, a beast, a weapon, my constant companion in a world that seeks to undo me at every turn. I climb above the trenches alone, letting the world shrink beneath me. Smoke rises in thin spirals from burned villages and shattered fields. Soldiers march, rifles slung, faces pale in the early light. They do not know the sky as I do, the thinness of the air, the knife-edge tension between life and death that cuts sharper than any bullet. The enemy is waiting, I know it. I feel it in the wind, in the way the clouds gather, in the subtle shifts of light across the fields below. Every sortie is a negotiation with fate. Every maneuver, every dive, every pull on the stick is a choice with consequences I cannot undo. I am hunted as much as I hunt. Above the sum, I see them, British aces, sharper, smarter, relentless. They have studied my patterns, learned my tactics. They wait for the slightest hesitation, the faintest flaw. I circle, dive, twist, fire. Tracers carve lines of light through the sky, engines roar, and the world contracts to a cathedral of air, metal, and instinct. Hours pass in a blur of motion, adrenaline, and precision. I take a hit, a glancing scratch on the fuselage. My heart lurches, not from fear, but from the awareness that my time in the sky is finite. Even the Red Baron is mortal. Each dogfight carries the weight of inevitability. Each ascent is a gamble with the universe, and the universe is patient. I reflect on letters from home, on the young pilots who follow me, and the soldiers below who whisper my name. The legend grows, yet the shadow grows faster. Fame is not a shield. It is a spotlight, exposing every movement, every weakness. I write in my diary, I am the hunter, the master of the sky, yet I feel the shadow of fate in every turn, in every cloud, in every heartbeat. By afternoon, the engagement ends. My albatross bears the marks of combat, scratches, dents, the faint scent of burned metal. I land alone, my men exhausted, some grounded by damage, some by fear. I walk among them, silent, aware that every life I touch, every victory I claim, carries a ripple of consequence. The Red Baron is legend, yes, but I am mortal. My body tires, my mind strains, and the shadow of what may come grows longer. Evening descends. I climb once more, alone, into the muted light of twilight. The air is thin, still, and vast. I glide over the front lines, watching smoke curl from trenches, watching men move like shadows across a scarred landscape. Every heartbeat echoes with memory, every maneuver tinged with awareness. I write, the sky has taught me skill, patience, and fear. It has taught me the weight of every life, the inevitability of consequence. The Red Baron is immortal in legend, yet I am tethered to mortality, to the shadows that follow every hunter, to the fate that awaits all men who dare to master the clouds. Night falls, silent and heavy. I feel the pull of inevitability, the whisper of destiny that all men face. Tomorrow we will fly again, and I will rise with the sun, chasing survival, legend, and the fleeting eternity of the sky. But beneath the legend, I am aware. Every hunter meets the shadow of fate. Every ascent may be the last. The Red Baron is no longer just a name. He is a presence in the sky, a shadow on the battlefield, a story told in whispers. And yet, I remain Manfred von Richthofen, mortal, human, aware that legend is fragile and fate is relentless. The dawn is cold, bitter, and clear. Frost sparkles on the wings of my albatross, biting at leather and exposed skin. I tighten every strap, check every gauge, listen to the engine hum beneath me, steady, obedient, alive. Today there is no hesitation. Today I climb knowing that the sky holds both glory and the ultimate reckoning. The front lines stretch like scars beneath me, smoke rising from trenches, fields flattened by artillery, villages reduced to ash. I breathe deeply, the chill filling my lungs, the wind cutting across my face. Every sortie has been a lesson, every maneuver a negotiation with life and death. Today the lesson may be final. Enemy aircraft appear on the horizon, specks against the pale morning light. They are disciplined, precise, determined. The Red Baron is known, feared, studied, and they come to meet him with all the skill they have gathered. I lead my men into formation, engines roaring, wings slicing through the air. The hunt begins, but this time, I sense the hunt has found me. We engage immediately. Tracers streak past, cutting the sky into shards of light. I dive, fire, climb, evade, every instinct heightened to its peak. The world contracts to a cathedral of motion, air, and metal. I feel the familiar thrill, the surge of adrenaline, yet there is a strange clarity. Every movement, every breath carries weight, the culmination of years of flight, training, and survival. Minutes stretch like hours. I maneuver expertly, dodging attacks, striking with precision. One enemy plane spirals beneath me. Another locks onto my tail. I twist and climb, weaving through clouds, skimming over the scarred landscape below. The sky is mine, yet I feel the shadow pressing closer, inevitability curling at the edges of every turn. I glance at my squadron, men I have trained, led, inspired. They follow, trust, survive because of my choices. Their faces show determination, fear, and hope. I feel pride, yes, but also the sharp pang of awareness. Each decision I make could be their last. Each flight is both teaching and warning, a lesson written in fire and steel. Hours pass in a blur. The enemy adapts, anticipating my moves, exploiting the tiniest gaps. My albatross bears the marks of countless encounters, scratches, dents, the smell of smoke faint in the cockpit. I climb higher, seeking advantage, precision, survival. Yet somewhere in the clouds, fate waits. The legend, the skill, the years of mastery cannot defy inevitability forever. Suddenly I feel it, the unmistakable signature of fire tracing the air around me. My heart clenches, instincts screaming. I maneuver with every ounce of skill, yet the sky itself seems to conspire, closing the net around me. The Red Baron, hunter of hundreds, aces of the sky, feels the hunted become prey in the ultimate judgment. The world contracts into seconds in motion. The battlefield below is silent now, holding its breath. Tracers streak, engines roar, wind cuts like knives. I push every muscle, every nerve, every skill honed through countless sorties. I dive, I roll, I pull up, I fire. The albatross responds alive, a final partner in this deadly dance. I write in my mind, in my soul, words I cannot speak aloud. I am the Red Baron, legend, hunter, mortal. Every life, every victory, every moment has led to this. The sky is my domain, yet the shadow of fate is absolute. The final seconds stretch, eternity condensed into motion. I feel the weight of every life affected, every soldier below, every enemy who has met me in the air. The Red Baron is a name, a symbol, a story told in whispers and reports. But in this moment, I am Manfred von Richthofen, mortal, human, alive in the last heartbeat of legend. The world narrows. The sky, the albatross, the wind, the enemy, all converge. The Red Baron's final flight is not a fall, but a culmination, a moment of mastery, of inevitability, of cinematic clarity. Every maneuver, every decision, every heartbeat carries the gravity of history. I write one last thought in the silence before eternity. Legends die in the sky, but their wings leave shadows for the world below. The sky receives me, the world remembers. The Red Baron becomes eternal. Find stories like this as fascinating as I do. Make sure to hit that subscribe button and ring the bell. Thanks for watching.